Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome to the
Hey.
Leading Edge Cricket Podcast, live stream once again over YouTube, over Twitch, and over Facebook Live. That's what the cool kids are into these days. Today, we're breaking down predominantly England versus Bangladesh. We're riding high Ibiza Sky at the moment, absolutely loving life, as well as three other huge contests that have gone on as well, particularly Pakistan versus Bangladesh. Also, Quinton the Cock's up to some strange old things. I am Rob, this is Rich. Welcome to the podcast.
How's it going, Rob? All good?
Yep, very good, mate. Very good. A little bit later in the day here. I think we're on about 8:30, 8:45, so different time, but same result, mate. England turn up, England dominate, and England look like the best team in this competition.
They mean business, mate. They've turned up, haven't they? They absolutely mean business. You never know, being an England cricket fan, how they're going to turn up and how they're going to perform in competitions. They sometimes just completely crap the bed and we don't know what's going to happen. But they really look well drilled in this one, and I'm looking forward to getting onto that one shortly. So, how do you want to go through this day then? Do you want to rattle through the games as we've missed them, as they've come over the last few days, or do you want to start with England?
Yeah, let's roll back a little bit, and we'll start with what we missed out from yesterday. So 2 games yesterday. There was a West Indies South Africa game and debacle that's gone on alongside it, and a huge grudge match between Pakistan and between the Black Caps.
Yeah, we've seen some great cricket, haven't we? So let's get underway. South Africa, West Indies then. The biggest story from this game came before a ball had even been bowled. It sounds like it was on the bus trip to the ground. And that involved star batsman Quinton de Kock, didn't he? He ruled himself out for personal reasons. Now, we're going to come back to that shortly. Let's get on to the game. Cricket deserves to be spoken about before this. So let's make sure we get on the game first. So, big game, wasn't it? It was big game was needed for both sides for this one. Obviously, the tough first outings, wasn't it, for South Africa against Australia, and West Indies obviously were drubbed by England. South Africa came out on top, and it was a pretty convincing performance. I'd say a marvellous performance, as old Richie Bennett would put it. Aiden Markram, he was the star as South Africa chased down the windy score of 143 for 8 to clinch an 8-wicket win with 10 balls remaining. West Indies side of things, Evan Lewis hit 56 off 35 with the top 5 all making starts, but nobody really getting stuck in. With the ball, 3 for 17 for Dwayne Pretorius with the headline figures, but it was paceman Andrew, however you want to say his name. I like to say Naughty, but I think it's like Nokia or something. He bowled superbly. 4 overs, it went for just 14, Rob, with a solo wicket. Contribution like that richly deserved Man of the Match award. So good on him. And I love the fact that he won the Man of the Match award for just economic bowling. Yeah, it was. Bavuma went really early, didn't he? Reza Hendricks, 39 off 30. He was caught brilliantly by Shimron Hetmeyer. Another one where I don't know why it took the third umpire so long to come to the decision. It was clear his fingers were under the ball. Get on with it, guys. Markram, though, he got 51 not out, 50 off 25 balls, the quickest of the comp so far. And Rassie van der Dusen, 43 not out of 51. Solo wicket came from Akil Hussain. 8-wicket win for South Africa. West Indies in a bit of trouble.
West Indies in a lot of trouble, mate. If it wasn't for Evan Lewis at the top of that order, you are looking at a team that's being rolled for under 100 again. And that in back-to-back contests, in must-win contests, you've got to beat the other real top-level test nations to be able to have a chance of qualifying for the semi-finals. If you're not able to go and do that, you're really struggling. But Evan Lewis is a cricketer that constantly goes under the radar in T20 international cricket. Since the last World Cup came around, he's in the top 5 for strike rates. During that period, Glenn Maxwell leading the way with a 160 strike rate, but Evan Lewis is there about a 150 strike rate. And for him to go out and have this sort of knock at the start of the innings, where we've seen a lot of wickets fall in the power plays, is really positive for West Indies. But they do look fragile in the middle, and you just wonder whether it's a little bit of this team's been so good for so long, and they go away, they do the thing, and they come back in. Is it asking a little bit too much to be able to come back in and hit the ground running at T20 international level every single time and have a really quality output? Because this South African team is good, but it does feel like they may be missing a bowler to try to piece together the 20 overs. But a little bit disappointed from the West Indies. But from South Africa, I think they're looking good. Rabada's class, Nortage's class. We're saying it completely different. But also Van der Dusen and Markram. Van der Dusen scored that 100 in the warm-up. Markram, we know, is an international quality player. And he's looking more confident about his game. He was really brutal in this innings. 4 sixes, really putting them to the sword. And, knocking off it with 10 balls remaining. That's a little bit of a drubbing in T20 cricket. And we're starting to see when the Test Nations are playing, 140 isn't enough. 140 was a good score with associate nations. I think you really need 160 and above 170. Now we've got the big boys in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the West Indies, they just ran out of gas, didn't they? Simple as that. Yep. I mean, Chris Gale was in there, 121 for 4 of 17 when we got 17 overs. Gale went, Russell went, Hetmeyer went, Pollard went, Walsh went. That's 5 wickets went after the 17th over commenced. If you've not got any gas, you're not going to finish an inning strong, are you?
No.
You're done. And you're not going to score runs. I mean, that's a great performance from South Africa with the ball at the end of the innings there as well. And Markram, he looks quality. We spoke about it last time. He was somebody a few years ago I thought would just announce himself and be one of the finest batsmen on the world stage. He's not quite done it. But this is a platform for him now to kind of leap from and start fulfilling that. He opened the bowling as well, Rob. 3 overs.
Yeah.
He's getting his money's worth. I love it.
Yeah, he's putting himself in the genuine all-rounder category by doing stuff like that. But we're doing a job for teams, time and time again, just picking up, closing out a couple of overs and starting to build that pressure. I think West Indies, when they look at this, because the first game plan, everyone was getting caught out on the boundary during that 55 all out. They did stretch the game a little longer and put themselves in a position where they've got wickets in hand going into these last few overs to go big. But unfortunately, it just didn't work. It was just a calamity of wickets. The last 3 overs only went for 20. The last 5 overs only went for 40. They would see themselves as a team that could hit 3 boundaries and over easy during those last periods with the batsmen they had in at the crease. And I think you got to West Indies be disappointed, but South Africa be really bloody proud of the performance that they've put in and the fact that they've been able to go out there, perform, and close out the innings against a really strong boundary-ridden team.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're up and running now after their defeat from Australia. West Indies are rock bottom, aren't they, of that Division 1 or Group 1 with two defeats in a row. I don't see how they get out of this now. I don't think there's a way they can qualify. South Africa, we shall see. They're a bit of a strange team, aren't they? We're a bit split on how we see them. Yeah. But yeah, that'll be interesting. Quinton de Kock, let's get on to that just briefly, I think. So he basically said that it was his personal reasons he gave. But it seems to be, and it's been confirmed by acting chairperson of Cricket South Africa, Lawson Naidu, that it was to do with the fact that they were looking to take the knee in support of anti-racist. I don't even know the right way to put it, because it's not. This is the thing. It's not a debate. It's not a discussion. It's not an opinion. It's just showing solidarity, isn't it?
It is.
It's just saying we don't believe racism is acceptable. So therefore, it's not good enough just not to be racist. You have to be anti-racist. So this is what's come out basically. They wanted uniform conduct and messaging from the team at the World Cup. That's what Cricket South Africa wanted. And apparently that is what led to the board issuing a directive on Tuesday morning, the morning of the game, that the entire touring party must take a knee before each game, which other teams have been doing. Bear in mind, this is against West Indies as well. So according to chairperson Lawson Naidu, de Kock was the only person who did not comply and withdrew from the match against them. So it has been confirmed that he withdrew for this very reason. Ridiculous. Anyway, so Lawson Naidu said that the issue is not about questioning the commitment of any of the players towards combating racism, but it's about the conduct they display and the messages that sends out to the South African public and the broader global community during a world event. We expect South Africans to be leading the world globally on this topic, given our particular history. That's the important part, and the particular circumstances that are prevailed in South Africa. It's a position where South Africa should be a leader, not a follower. If you don't feel, as a white South African, if you don't feel that you can support anti-racist messaging, there is a fundamental issue. Now, I don't want to cast any aspersions on Quinton de Kock, but he has put himself in a very, very difficult position. I don't understand how he would expect people to see him other than in a negative light at the moment. I just don't get this. And to give up playing for your country. Come on, man.
Yeah, it's hard to wrap your head around. And I think sometimes people forget the influence they have in the world. And sports people are pretty much, rightly or wrongly, the elite of the elite in society quite often. And young people look up to them no matter what they do, how they conduct themselves, the messages they're given. And de Kock, whatever he might think, we've no idea what his actual thought process is here, but him taking the knee and showing solidarity with the rest of cricket creates a bigger message. No matter what he personally may think, the right message is to stand together and to say, hey, this is wrong. This is wrong. We're all people. We're all just trying to do the best we can. And it doesn't matter where you're from, who you're from, or who your parents are. It doesn't make a difference in life, and it shouldn't make a difference in life. And I think somewhere along the line, either these platforms that people have really can not bring out the worst in people, but sometimes decisions they make they may not understand the full impact that it might have to little Johnny who's 9 years old watching this, or Terry that's 14 who's easily influenced. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's disappointing.
Yeah, and how does it look to his captain, Temba Bavuma? How does it look to the star bowler for South Africa that's been bowling into his gloves for the last God knows how many years in Kagiso Rabada and others, Lungi and Giddy? There's plenty of others in around that squad. What message does it say to them? It's a really divisive message. And South Africa, yes, they got the win on this one, but I hope this doesn't disrupt them completely. And I hope they can pull themselves together. And I hope de Kock reconsiders. I hope people get through to him. I hope he's willing to listen to people like Bavuma and others and try and explain their point of view a little bit more. South Africa is such a diverse country, not just in background, but also in the finances of the world, if you like. And it tends to go along certain lines in South Africa. It's not, it's ridiculous. I find it completely ridiculous. And like I say, the fact that it's this important to him to not need to show solidarity, that he's willing to give up international cricket for that game. Just baffling, but I don't think we should spend any more time on it. But I just don't get it. And we will see if team management have to make a decision now. Cricket South Africa don't have an answer yet. We will see if de Kock continues in this tournament or whether he is replaced and he's sent on his way. We shall see. Right, over to your boys, Rob. New Zealand, they took on Pakistan in the next game of that day. Pakistan, back-to-back wins. 5-wicket win against the Kiwis. 8 balls remaining. I mean, this team is something. 2-2, like England, 2-2. I've just spoiler alert for England. Shaheen Shah Afridi was the star in the first win against India, wasn't it? But it was fellas like Haris Rauf who was the star of the day for Pakistan. 4 for 22 off his 4 overs, and they kept New Zealand to 134 for 8. Daryl Mitchell and Devon Conway both top scored with 27 apiece. Guptill got about 17 at the top of the order. And he took one on the toe as well. So Guptill's somebody that we just need to keep an eye on to see whether or not he'll be fit for the next game. Pakistan started steadily, but did not have it all their own way in the chase as they slumped to 69 for 4 when Mohammad Rizwan, who was the top scorer of 33 off 34, was removed by Ish Sodhi, who himself got 2 for 28. Shoaib Malik, though, and Asif Ali were the men that saw Pakistan home with a 48-run partnership. Malik hitting 26 off 20 wide. Asif Ali got on with things, brisk 27 off 12, including 3 sixes. Absolutely convincing win for Pakistan. Pakistan look a fantastic team. We've been in their corner for quite some time now, haven't we? And they're starting to turn some of this promising play, some of these promising players into winning games of cricket now. I can imagine you boys over there wouldn't have been overly happy when you woke up to this one.
No, but I think the outcome was what we predicted. We predicted that Pakistan are a good team, they're a strong team, they're a united team, which is ultra important and playing with huge amounts of passion and support from everyone around them. And this Black Caps team, when I just looked through it, I was like, it just doesn't quite work together. No. Daryl Mitchell's now an international opener, apparently, and I don't know where that's come from. You've got Devon Conway, who's up there with Kane Williamson and being the best player in the team across all formats. Why isn't Devon Conway opening the batting where he averages 45-50 in T20 cricket? Scored 90-odd against Aussies, scored a ton against Bangladeshis. It doesn't quite feel right, the lineup. Guptill looked really out of form, and he looked like he was... Interesting enough, when you're out of form, hey, cat walking past. I'm sure that's bad luck.
It's fine.
Guptill just didn't quite look himself. He doesn't look in good nick. And the quality of bowling was incredible. The Black Caps were constantly scratching. They went a period, I might be wrong here, but about 10 overs without even scoring a boundary, mate. Because the pressure was relentless. And it started with Shaheen Shah Afridi. But Haris Rauf was incredible. He's got a peculiar action, which, if you haven't faced before, will cause you problems anyway. But I was really impressed by how he bowled, the pace he gets up to. He gets up to 149 clicks, but he's got really good off-speed variations, getting down to 122. They just couldn't work him out. And the amount of dot balls that was building, and then it was only ones and twos to try and keep yourselves going. So the Kiwis were always trying to have wickets in hand and go at the end. And unfortunately, the go at the end just didn't quite work. At 15 overs, they're on 100. 20 overs, they're on 134. They just losing wickets at bad times and really good bowling, really good catching. But talking of really good catching, Devon Conway, Mohamed Hafiz came in, started to go absolutely bonkers. Then Superman Devon Conway and in a tournament that's epitomised by incredible catches, takes one of the finest catches in the outfield. I've seen it for a long time. And he just had this moment where he got up and he was like, yes,
I caught it.
I caught it.
But that's what we club cricketers should do, not international cricketers. They should be, act like they've been there before. It's for us to go, I can't believe I've caught that.
I've got one. I've caught one at Warrensburg, diving one-handed once, and no one celebrated me, but it's the best catch I ever took in my life. Pakistan were just in control of the run chase. Even the Black Caps were staying in it, and they were picking up wickets here and there, but it always felt that Pakistan had the control. They paced it right. They picked up singles, and then the change was when Asif Ali came in, who started going bonkers. He hit 3 sixes in his innings. He got pinned. He had the physio out to him twice, so potentially something going on there with a concussion. But it was the acceleration. 15 overs down, they were 91 for 5 as opposed to the Black Caps being 100 for 4. And then they went and scored 40 overs, going 9, 7, 13, 15, 9 to finish it in the subsequent overs. They were just the better team, and they looked the better team by quite a long way. Black Caps 20, 30 runs short in the chase. And I'm not quite sure where those 20, 30 runs come from during the chase. And also the Black Caps felt a little light on the bowling stakes for me. I think if this Black Cap team's played against England, they won't in the group stages. I don't feel like the outcome is going to be very good with Jimmy Neesham trying to bowl 3 or 4 overs in the mixer. Mitch Santner looks pretty ineffective, doesn't turn it. It's a worry for the Black Caps team. They're not the Black Caps team they have been over previous years. They've got holes. Lockie Ferguson's not there. He's out injured for the whole tournament now. One of the fastest bowlers, one of the best T20 bowlers in the world. Adam Milne will come into the squad, who had a great 100 campaign in England. Hopefully that little bit of pace can offset some of the worries about the bowling lineup. But the batting lineup doesn't excite me like a Black Caps batting lineup has excited the world for probably 10 years, mate.
No, they're going to have to drag the cricketing population of New Zealand along with them for this one, aren't they? Because it's not like they've suddenly got the excitement going. It doesn't get any easier either. They've got India up next. That's their next game. So if they get themselves into a hole, played 2, lost 2, which India have to come back strong, and they'll have played before then. They'll have played at least their second game before then. But it's going to be a tough one for New Zealand. And it's a little bit disappointing. It's a little bit anticlimactic for how well they've done in world cricket over the last few years. But we'll obviously keep an eye on that, and I'm sure you'll be, keeping the temperature of the New Zealand population for the Kiwis.
Definitely will, mate. Definitely will.
Let's get on to some cricket from today, then, Rob, shall we? England, Bangladesh. We spoke about Pakistan 2-2. England are also a 2-2 team as well. After they cruised to an 8-wicket win over Bangladesh, and like we said at the top, they mean business. There's no other way of putting it, I don't think. This really does look a team that's really tuned in to go deep in this competition. So. Let's get it started. Bangladesh batted first. Chris Wokes was ultra economical, 12 for 1 off his 4 overs. But it was spin again that really controlled proceedings for England, with Moeen Ali 2 for 18 off 3 overs, bowling exceptionally well again at the top. Whilst it was, instead of Ali Rashid today, it was the offy leggy Liam Livingston, wasn't it? Who partnered him up, 2 for 15 for him off 3 overs this time out. Bangladesh, they're batting. They've plenty of playmakers, plenty of quality of the bat, but really, once the informed duo of Mohamed Naeem at the top and Shakib Al Hassan were dismissed cheaply early on, it was always going to be a tough ask. It was always up against it. In amongst all that, Mushfiqur Rahim top scored, I think, again with 29 off 30. But England were too strong. Tamil Mills as well. He was, he bowled a bit lower down, didn't he, today? But he mopped things up with 2-2 balls late in the innings to restrict them to 124 for 9. It's just not going to do it. Unless England started messing around with a batting lineup, there wasn't really a way they were going to hang on to this one. So in the end, England, they made relatively light work of the total, winning 14.1 overs, a huge buffer there. Josh Butler, 18 in 18, but Jason Roy, he starred, didn't he? 50th T20 international for Jason Roy. He got 61 off 38 balls. He broke the back of the chase, really. Whilst that forgotten man, you might not remember his name, Dawid Milan. He wasn't allowed a bat last game. He'd done something wrong, clearly. He offered good support, and unbeaten 28 of 25, which is exactly, he'd have probably done that sort of job against West Indies, Owen. Bairstow joined him at the end, was the man who hit the winning boundary, scored 2 very impressive and comprehensive wins for England. Unbelievably, and I still don't believe this, even though I've heard it from a few sources, that's the first ever T20 international between Bangladesh and England.
T20 International or
World.
T20 at a World Cup?
I heard T20 International. I might be wrong. That's what I'm saying. I still can't believe it. It just seems bizarre with the scheduling, but it might be that. I think you should do some checking on my dodgy stuff I'm throwing out into the world.
Just throwing out stats. Great performance. Chris Wokes, mate. Chris Wokes, since he returned to T20 Internationals this year, he's bowled 12 overs in games. Those overs have produced an economy rate of 3.66. That's
expensive.
That's absolutely exactly. Buying the man. He's letting them get away. That's an incredible response. 14 dot balls. He has, since his time in the IPL, become a better and better white ball cricketer and white ball bowler, and that's really showing. Moeen Ali was good at the top again. His first over went for a couple of boundaries, and I was watching it. I was like, oh, a bit worried here. We've spoken about he can go when people get hold of him. He can go, but bounce straight back. The following next over. 2 wickets in 2 balls. Completely changed the dynamic of that opening partnership. Dar's gone, Name gone, looking really good. Tymel Mills looks like an international cricketer. I don't know about you. And I think one of the things I really like about him, one, he's got such a consistent delivery that he's bowling. His bowling action doesn't change. And when he's bowling his slower balls, nothing changes. Yeah. Nothing changes at all. And that is so important. Like if it's really obvious you're bowling a back of the hand delivery or you're holding the ball differently, it's like, oh yeah, I know this is coming. I can see it coming a mile off. But it's taking the baseball approach that every single delivery you bowl looks exactly the same. It's why Jimmy Anderson's been so important in Test match cricket and so successful. There's minimal, minute change from being able to tell what's coming in, what's coming out. And when you watch Tymel Mills bowl his slower ball, nothing changes. It's absolutely incredible. One of the better slower balls I've seen in international cricket for a long, long time, mate.
Yeah, he's good. And he's got the extra pace as well, hasn't he? Which he showed right at the end of the innings. And, he showed the two things, the slower balls we're talking about and the pace. The pace, the penultimate ball, he got him, just the guy gloved it, didn't he? Just got a little feather through to the keeper. And then the next ball, bit of a slower ball, just caught the outside of off stump, showed his skills, showed his repertoire. It's great to have him in. We've still got Mark Wood in the squad as well, if we need that extra pace as well. But you look at this team and, there's 6 bowlers here, including Livingston. And I'm not quite sure where you need it. It's a spin-heavy competition. It's going to be. That's just inevitable, isn't it? You've got Wokes bowling ultra economically. Chris Jordan will keep doing what Chris Jordan does. He's none for 15 off 2 today. But he's a threat. He's a threat with a bat further down the order. He's also exceptional in the field. There's no one in world cricket that's got a better pair of hands than him. Tymel Mills is bringing that pace, and Livingston coming in as a batsman that's giving you some really, really useful overs. It looks such a well-balanced team. It just looks right, doesn't it, at the moment? I don't think we're missing much. Whether they want to squeeze another bowler in at some point, I don't know. But at the moment, it just looks like it's working. And England just look fantastic. The fact that Moeen Ali got in two balls, Litton Das and Mohamed Naeem, who both can go off if they want to, and they certainly have done in cricket over the last couple of years, is incredible. Shakib Al Hasan going for 4 as well. Massive wicket. That was a Wokes wicket. Yeah, definitely. And then it was just a bit of a procession, wasn't it? A bit of a shambles of a run out between Mahmudullah and Afif Hussain. Mahmudullah went not long after. Just couldn't really get through to an end. And 124 for 9 was not going to win many games of cricket, and especially not against England. With the bat as well, Butler relatively steady, but Jason Roy, great time for him to regain some of that form. He's never far from it, but he hasn't really kind of paid his dues, has he, on the run scoring of late. And also, like, it's great to see Milan as well batting at 3 where he should have batted against West Indies. I understand the principle in the last game, but it was not necessary. It's not like David Milan, hits 20 or 40 deliveries in T20.
Yeah, it was really good. Jason Roy is so important for the balance of this team, mate, because it allows you to play Bairstow at 3. And Bairstow at 3. Bairstow in the middle order and coming in score fast in the middle order. Because Bairstow is probably the most natural white ball hitter of a cricket ball in this England team. And that's put him in above Jos Buttler just because his performance is so consistent. But he really needed this. He scored 17 in the warm-up and a duck against New Zealand, but 11 against the West Indies. This 61 is going to do the world of good for his confidence in T20 cricket, mate. It's a decent record in T20 international cricket. 145 strike rate, 1,265 runs, average of 25, 7 50s, 0 hundreds. It's good, But it's not quite as good as what you'd expect from Jason Roy because he can be so good. But saying that, he's had a tough year, I think. And to get him up and running, scoring runs, because everyone else is looking pretty good, it's really important. You don't need to shuffle the deck. And David Milan, why was he down at 7 or 8 in the last game? He's got a job in this team, and he's done that job today. And he can accelerate from there. He scored 28 off 25. Josh Butler scored 18 off 18.
This is the thing. This is what I don't understand in the West Indies game. I don't want to rehash it, but it wasn't like we was chasing 150 and we needed to score quick because of run rate. We were chasing, what was it, 55?
Yeah.
It just get Milan in there. He's a good cricketer. He will score you over 100 strike rate, even if it's just 101 strike rate. He will score at an okay rate. Yeah. When we compared everyone else in that order that came and went, they basically went at about a run a ball. So it was a bit of a mess. I'm not having a dig at Owen Morgan today. I have no criticism of Owen Morgan. He's 2-2 as a captain. But yeah, it's great to see Milan back in there, and England was just so convincing. A bit of injury news for Bangladesh as well. Rubel Hassan has replaced the injured Mohammed Safieddine after the all-rounder picked up a back injury. So the bowler Rubel Hassan is in for Bangladesh. It's a bit of a, you don't want to see these injuries, do you? Obviously, you've just mentioned about Lockie Ferguson for New Zealand. Just seems that there's one or two just pulling up lame at the moment. So hopefully there's not too many more, because we obviously want the best players for each and every team to be able to keep contributing to this great competition so far.
Yeah, you're exactly right, mate. Good stuff from England, and one more game to go from the day, mate. And a biggie again. Associate Nations coming up big.
We're big fans of these Associate Nations, and these two qualifiers, Scotland and Namibia, came together. Look, I think the best. I'll sum it up. After the heartbreak of their first ever World Cup proper appearance for Scotland and defeat, obviously, against Afghanistan, they really needed a turnaround performance against we can, I think, politely call surprise qualifiers Namibia. But it was just simply not to be. As this, we've used these terms before about Namibia. This well-organised, determined, the gritty Namibian side. They won by 4 wickets, knocking off Scotland's way under par 109 for 8. But with only 5 balls remaining, so Scotland have got a lot to be proud of in this one. So missing Carl Kurtzer at the top of the order, Matthew Cross was put up to opener, and he hit an understandably steady 33 ball 19. Now, when we see what happened, we understand why he hit a very, very pedestrian knock here. Basically, first over the innings, Ruben Trumpelman, the 23-year-old left armer, 3 wickets in the first 4 balls of the innings. They were 3 for 2. 2 runs on the board as well. Absolute chaos in the first over. How do you turn that around? 3 wickets in the first over, 4 balls. You're then asking the team to go on and score, put a decent score up. It's just not going to happen. So apart from Matthew Cross, who we said he's got himself 19, I think it was 19 anyway. Michael Lease down at 6. He was the next man to get double figures. Chris Greaves at 7. Only those two got double figures for this innings. Yeah. And it's just not good enough. 44 for Leask and 25 for Greaves. It was JJ Smith that took the key wicket of Michael Leask, who I think it was a 27 balls for his 44, wasn't it? So it was a brisk knock for him. Namibia, you'll get into the bowling figures, I'm sure, in a moment as well, just to dig in a bit. But Namibia bowled fantastically well. Trumpelman, 3 for 17. Freiling, fellow opener, 2 for 10. JJ Smith, 1 for 20, and David Device, 1 for 22. Now, that's all the figures. They're all off 4 overs each. Yeah. They are some sensational figures. Absolutely sensational. I'll round the game out and then we'll come back to it. But Scotland, they really did chip away, in Namibia's response. Namibia was down to 67 for 4 at one point, and Scotland just kept coming. But it was JJ Smith's unbeaten 23 ball 32 with a key knock as they recorded the first T20 World Cup victory in this stage. Obviously, it's 3 wins on the bounce now if you include the qualifiers. Massive credit to Scotland. Never let their heads drop. Should be proud of their efforts with the ball, especially Brad Wheeler went for just 14 for 1 off his 4 overs, and no bowler for Scotland went from over 7.5 runs per over. So massive disappointment for Scotland. It's just playing for pride now, but another memorable and historic night for Namibian cricket.
Namibia, my third favourite cricket team, I think now.
Our second favourite team.
Exactly. An incredible performance, and fair play to Scotland for showing a little bit of bottle. They did against Bangladesh, remember, right at the start, maybe 140, and they came back and won that game really, really well and played really, really good cricket. They just weren't quite good enough to get over the line, but who would be? From being 3 down in the first over Losing George Munsey, who's the guy that is your boundary scorer as well, scores huge amounts of runs from fours and sixes. You've just backed yourself into a horrendous corner. 18 for 4 after 5.3 overs is not good.
No, if I just jump back in as well, the batsman he got out, this probably should have said, Munsey, like you said, he can go off like a train, first of all. Callum McLeod, he's the guy that hit 100 odd against England a few years ago. And then Richie Berrington, he was in for his captain. I mean, that is not where you want to be coming in. But those three players are probably three of the finest players Scotland have with a bat. And Berrington as captain, he's just decided what's happening. There's your batting lineup. I'm going to put my feet up while I steadily put my pads on at number 4. And suddenly he's in fourth ball of the innings and he's gone first ball.
Yeah,
it's a brutal start, and it's just a sensational start for Namibia. Sorry, you carry on, mate.
It's absolutely fine. You're right, but 17 dot balls he bowled. 17 dot balls from his 4 overs, 3 wickets, economy rate of 4.25. Freilink was talking about him. He went for 10 runs. 10 runs from his 4
ridiculous.
Overs. 14 dot balls, 0 wides, 0 no balls. And I come back to wides and no balls a lot because they do have significant impact into teams. And quite a lot of bowlers will bowl 1 or 2 wides. Chris Jordan bowled 3 wides today. But him and Smith bowled no wides, no balls. David Visa's been superb this competition. He's a real game changer for this Namibian team and should have played more international cricket in his life. 1 for 22, 11 dot balls. But it's just every single game he's had meaningful contributions. 66 not out and 1 for 32 against Netherlands. 28 not out and 2 for 22 against Ireland. 1 for 22 here. His economy rate through the competition is absolutely next to none. He's time and time again just stepping up. And the Scottish fight just wasn't quite enough at the end. But I think what you're seeing is Namibia are potentially the best associate nation that we've got at this competition, and that's quite exciting.
It really is, and we need a story like this in any World Cup or in any world competition, no matter what sport it is. You need a nation like Namibia coming and just shaking things up a little bit. David Visa, he's a real talisman for them, isn't he? And I just go back to those flowing locks. There's something about him. He's I can't even think of the right term, but he's the hero they need. And he's come just at the right time, hasn't he? And he deserves the opportunity to play on this stage, even at this late stage in his career. And they're just such a well-led team, aren't they? They're well-led off the field. Gerard Erasmus, the captain, he didn't contribute much to the bat today, but you saw, the way they went about things. He's just there, he's somebody else that's going to contribute, even if he doesn't score runs with the way they are as a team. So, fantastic performance by Namibia. And Scotland, it's a really tough one. This competition doesn't get any easier for anybody. Scotland have got a bit of time off now, but they do come back with a game against New Zealand. But again, it's a team where we're saying, Scotland, can they come back? But New Zealand have to win. So suddenly they're not just finding New Zealand who have got a nice, easy win. It's New Zealand that are absolutely up for it, and they're going to come out firing. Namibia, they've got Afghanistan in a few days' time, and they've also got Pakistan before Scotland next play. So a couple of games coming up for Namibia. Really tough games. The way Afghanistan got out with got going with the spinners in particular, and then Pakistan, obviously, it's going to be so tough for Namibia to make a dent on this competition. But they've got a win in it. They'll be happy, even if that's all they get. They've got to win. They've beat the fellow associate, like you said, and they go home quite proud.
Oh, very, very, very proud, mate. What does that do for the tables for us then, mate?
That's a very good question. Oh, look at you. Have you got them up in front of you?
We're there.
Oh, look at that. So, not many teams have played 2 games yet, or not all of them, but England are obviously top of Group A, aren't they? Or Group 1, should I say. 2 wins. Sri Lanka, Australia, a win apiece in their solo games. And then South Africa, 1 win. Bangladesh, West Indies, they're not going anywhere, are they? What we got? Pakistan 2-2. Afghanistan. Look at that net run rate for Afghanistan, though, Rob. 6.5. So basically, you can say Afghanistan are on 2.5 points, aren't they?
That's absolutely bonkers, isn't it?
It's outrageous.
Do you think Afghanistan are good enough to beat a Pakistan team?
I think on their day they could. There's no reason why not. You've seen it. If Rashid Khan or Mujibur Rahman does what they did the other day, and they get 4 or 5 wickets apiece, they could turn anyone over. I don't think it's just Pakistan. I think they could turn, whether it's England, whether it's India or anybody. They've got every chance. Coming into this, we spoke about before, it's how can they, as a group, focus on this competition? How well can they, put everything to one side and just focus on this competition? And so far, there's no signs that they're being distracted by what's going on in their home country. So yeah, they're jumping up the rankings for me just with how well they seem to be controlling things.
Yeah.
New Zealand and India, they've got to start getting the shovels out. They've got to start digging themselves out pretty sharpish. There's not going to be an easy game. Yes, Namibia and Scotland are both in that one. Neither of those teams are particularly the big boys, but they're not going to lay down, and they're not going to just easily be walked over by any of these nations. So there's no real easy games, even though on paper the odd one might look a little bit easier.
Yeah, big couple of days for Sri Lanka as well. So they're playing against Australia, because you've got to think in that group, everyone's playing for second place. England look far and away the best team in it. Sri Lanka play Australia, and then on Saturday they play against South Africa as well. That is huge. If they win both those games, plus the one they've already won, you've got to think they're looking favourites to try and sneak through, which puts a lot of pressure on South Africa, Australia. Bangladesh and West Indies, I think you can put the fork in them quite easily now.
Yeah, absolutely. Some great games coming up. I mean, we're getting to the business part of this group stage now, aren't we? By the time we come on next, we'll have had Australia, England. That's the biggie. Yeah. I'm sure a few other nations might think their games are bigger, but I'm sorry, there's not many bigger than Australia, England.
No, there isn't, mate. I'm looking forward to it. It's a great competition so far. Really enjoying the cricket. I really enjoy seeing associate nations get more viewing time and play more meaningful cricket. I think it's really important. And it should be incorporated into the world of cricket somehow, some way, more often. But yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think as England fans, we're sitting pretty happy. We're really happy with where we are in the table, with the outlay of the team. If you've enjoyed listening to this, guys, make sure you leave a big thumbs up on YouTube. You can catch this absolutely anywhere. You think of somewhere that you can listen to a podcast, you can probably listen to us there. Rich, anything else?
Absolutely not. No, roll on the next games.
Roll on the next game, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you